What happens when a stealth aircraft, designed to be untouchable, collides with an air defense system billed as uncompromising? The US B-21 Raider versus Russia's S-500. One battle turned into a political earthquake. Within minutes of the bomber's wing being torn apart, the president's resolve unleashed a wave of drones, Tomahawks, and carrier-based jets. But here's the burning question. Was this the start of a war, or the most calculated display of restraint in modern history? Stick with this video, because the sequence of dominoes triggered by that single missile will surprise you. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A bomber designed to vanish from radar screens suddenly cried out with an emergency signal heard across Washington. At 34,000 feet, over the contested airspace near Crimea, the newest weapon in America's arsenal found itself confronted by a defense system that was supposed to be unable to touch it. The B-21 Raider, conceived as the next generation of stealth power, entered its mission with confidence built on decades of research. Every angle of its frame was tuned for invisibility, every material tested against radar returns. In America's strategic playbook, the Raider was not just another bomber, it was a message. A mobile deterrent capable of carrying nuclear or conventional payloads into the heart of adversary defenses unseen. Yet over the Black Sea, its greatest strength became its most glaring weakness the moment Russian radar marked it. The Russian defense network stretched wide. At its center, the S-500 Prometheus system, built to track both aircraft and incoming missiles. Its radar grip reached out 370 miles in a sweeping net. Its missiles could surge beyond Mach 14, closing the distance in seconds. Where previous generations of stealth had slipped through radar pulses like shadows, the B-21 was suddenly outlined on a screen in a command bunker near Sevastopol. Operators confirmed the lock, and one decision set history moving forward. The 77 N-6 interceptor launched skyward, a streak cresting past the cloud ceiling, climbing to meet the aircraft that believed itself protected. Inside the Raider, the pilot registered the lock warnings far later than expected. Suppression systems adjusted frequencies, trying to break the track, but the missile gained anyway. The near miss could have been the end of it. Explosive proximity shredding atmosphere, close enough to rattle the wing, but a fragment tore into the left side, cracking composites designed to scatter radar waves, stripping away the veils that shielded it. Radios snapped into Washington command frequencies, with a message briefer and sharper than any intelligence report. Aircraft hit, pilot attempting recovery. That one line was all it took. The transmission was monitored not only by American defense liaisons, but by Allied stations across Europe. In an instant, the foundation of U.S. stealth superiority had a hole punched through it. Russia had not brought the bomber down, but it had demonstrated intent and capability, and both mattered more than a kill. The signal carried weight well beyond the pilot's struggle to stabilize his craft. For decades, U.S. air campaigns leaned on the image of untouchable bombers. Now, the image cracked in real time, replayed across encrypted feeds pouring into the Pentagon. In the White House Situation Room, shock hardened into urgency. Advisors understood the implications. A platform trusted to penetrate any environment had been touched by a surface-to-air system. That meant more than one aircraft in jeopardy. It meant every mission planned around Raider deployment had to be re-evaluated at once. Even as the pilot maneuvered toward safer airspace, decision-makers refined their next steps. Washington had to demonstrate control, not weakness. The credibility of its strategic bomber fleet hung in the balance, and by extension, the credibility of promises made to NATO allies. Viewers often ask, what exactly transpired in those minutes when Russian screens burned with the ghostly trace of a bomber and lit up again with confirmation of a strike? It was simple and precise. The S-500 locked onto the Raider at 34,000 feet. The 77 N-6 missile closed the gap in seconds. A glancing blow disfigured its left wing and exposed it on the radar map. From invisibility to vulnerability, the Raider was no longer a phantom, but a wounded aircraft limping through contested airspace. The result was not an ending, but a beginning. That one aircraft's damage lit a fuse, transforming air combat into political escalation. What followed would move far beyond stealth technology and missiles into fleets, drones, and the largest shows of force across the Black Sea since the Cold War. If one bomber sparked urgency, how did the U.S. transform that into a fleet-strength show of force? The crackle of the emergency signal from the wounded B-21 lasted less than a minute, but its consequences lasted far longer. In the White House, the president wasted no time. The order was crisp. Prepare the fleet. Within hours, every American carrier group on standby status shifted gears. The USS George H.W. Bush, sailing in the eastern Mediterranean, turned from routine patrol into hard combat readiness. Alongside the carrier moved a pair of Ticonderoga-class cruisers, bristling with missile cells, and 4 Arleigh Burke destroyers known for their layered defense systems. Individually, each ship was an intimidating presence. The plan called for scale without recklessness. Hundreds of systems would be brought to bear, but every piece chosen for balance. Swarm drones to saturate radar, electronic warfare aircraft to scramble signal clarity, carrier-based jets to strike with speed, and fresh B-21 bombers to sit on alert in undisclosed bases, ready for deeper penetration if Russia escalated further. Commanders emphasized layered operations. No single thrust would carry the risk of uncontrolled confrontation. Instead, actions would unfold in measured waves, each more forceful than the last, giving adversaries space to reassess while keeping allies reassured that deterrence was intact. Dawn over the Black Sea marked the opening. From the deck of George H.W. Bush, MQ-25 Stingray drones launched in clusters, their quiet turbine engines pushing them into formation. Above them, EA-18G Growlers climbed, switching on electronic jamming pods calibrated to disrupt tracking arrays. Behind both, waves of Super Hornets readied for strikes. The first crossing swept toward Crimea like a test probe. If Russian operators hesitated, the drones would hover and retreat. But hesitation was not in the playbook. Russian operators responded with firepower. Screens lit up across their network as the S-500 batteries learned from their earlier engagement with the Raider. This time, they aimed lower. Dozens of Panzer S-2 systems rolled into action from highway positions, missiles lifting in tight salvos. 12 drones, amounting to a quarter of the first wave, were torn apart within 60 seconds. Explosions lit the horizon as scorched metal scattered into the sea. For a moment, the swarm looked dangerously thin, revealing the risks of pressing further into contested skies. Then came the human loss that cut deeper than failed drones. An F-A-18E Super Hornet, pushing too close, caught the tracking lock of a surface launcher. The pilot attempted to break away, flares pouring out like sparks, but the Russian missile struck true. The fighter disintegrated within view of its squadron, leaving behind one seat, one name, and silence on the radio net. Even inside the command ship, where dozens monitored green icons blinking on radar screens, the missing signal hit like a blow. Drones could be counted as expendable assets. Pilots were not. Within 40 minutes, Russian command centers constructed around Sevastopol shook under precision strikes. Radar domes collapsed into rubble. Mobile launchers abandoned their positions as fire crept across runways and support vehicles. Piece by piece, the Russian network lost coordination. By the close of the day, more than 2/3 of their connected detection sites across the frontage were silent, unable to relay or respond. One missile did more than rip into a wing. It tore apart the certainty that stealth bombers could pass without challenge, and that air defense remained one step behind. The strike forced a reckoning, showing how quickly advanced systems could shift balances that seemed permanent. If a glancing hit wiped out 70% of defenses in hours, imagine the spiral after a confirmed shoot-down. The threshold separating deterrence from open war now appears thinner than anyone believed. Modern power may no longer rest in the weapons themselves, but in the dangerous chains unleashed the moment they're fired.